This module is focused on warriors, both ancient and modern, and the ancient texts are, of course, Beowulf and Gawain. I'm not going to talk about the modern text, and in this video I'm going to center in on Beowulf and only mention Gawain in passing. I do plan to give some information about Gawain in written form, but the video is going to be about Beowulf. And Beowulf is originally written in Anglo-Saxon Old English. We don't know when it was written. It was anywhere circa 700 to 1000 of the Common Era, but it was not translated, and I looked it up this time into modern English until 1837, which was a very long time. And we have one extant manuscript of Beowulf. And this is due to the invasion of 1066, the Battle of Hastings, William the Conqueror, and the subsequent banning of speaking and writing Anglo-Saxon in England. French became the official language, and the Anglo-Saxon language was really forbidden. And this had very bad consequences for not only the Anglo-Saxons, but for us as well. And the reason why I say that is referring back to one extant manuscript of this poem. Had that manuscript not made it, we would never have known about Beowulf. So what else do we not know about from that period? But back to the text itself. Beowulf is a warrior, obviously, but I want to discuss him and later Gawain in light of the hero archetype, which of course was popularized by Joseph Campbell in The Hero with 1,000 Faces. And this concept, this archetype of the hero, was set long ago in Sumeria by the Epic of Gilgamesh. And there are various aspects, several aspects, that makes a hero within the archetype. And they consist of being raised apart from the father, and these are male heroes. There are female heroes, but that's not the subject at hand. The hero is most often raised away from his father. The hero is often part deity. For some reason, Gilgamesh, I think, was 1/3 deity and 2/3 mortal, and I never figured out how that worked. I'm sorry, that tickled me, amuses me every time I think about it. The hero is called upon to go on a quest. And depending upon the time period, the hero is either, yes, I'm going, or maybe I'm not so excited about going. Gilgamesh went on his quest after he and his best bud, Enkidu, killed Humbaba in the Forest of Cedars. And Enkidu was sent to the underworld as a result of that, and subsequently he died. And then Gilgamesh figured out he was going to die, and he went on a quest for immortality. He was not successful in becoming immortal. He found the secret in immortality, but lost it, and I'm getting way off track here, I know. So there are certain steps within the hero's archetype that Beowulf fits and doesn't fit. One of the other aspects is that the hero most often has a tragic flaw that causes ultimately some discomfort to him, or doesn't necessarily cause his quest to fail, but something happens that it does not end happily. Gilgamesh dies. Beowulf, after going through the killing Grendel and having many other adventures as well, becomes king of his country, but he has no heirs. And ultimately he dies. The dragon kills him and he dies. And after he dies, his kingdom is split up and is fragmented because he has, again, no son or even a daughter to whom he can pass along his kingdom and riches or whatever there is. So his tragic flaw is simply that he does not have an offspring. It's not even that he dies by the dragon, but that he dies. Beowulf, though, fits the archetype in other ways in that he is ready to go. He goes to Hrothgar's kingdom in order to help Hrothgar, but he is also seeking fame. And this is an aspect often of the archetype and the hero's quest. And Beowulf is, again, out for fame, out to help. And one of the aspects of ancient heroes, and this is something to think about in the modern hero in the discussion board, is even though Beowulf was being somewhat altruistic, he was also being very selfish. And we see this in other myths of the hero as well. Gawain, maybe not being so selfish. He goes out on his quest. Forget the cat, just ignore her. He is invited to go by the Green Knight. But Gawain is different from Beowulf, but I will talk about that in the written portion. So Beowulf definitely has his roots in the ancient myth of the hero. Fits it in some aspects and some aspects that doesn't fit it. One thing I want to point out about both Beowulf and Gawain is that their societies are, and the religion is highly syncretic. And by that I mean that their religion is a combination of Christianity and paganism. And we see this in a lot of Anglo-Saxon literature, quite a bit of Anglo-Saxon literature in Beowulf as well, as to where they give obeisance and they talk about Jesus. But there is also much pagan ideology mixed in with that. And we see this in the Gawain and the Green Knight as well. Whether Gawain is based on older works, we don't know, because we only have one original manuscript of it as well, and we don't know if it was adapted from Celtic lore, as certainly Arthur was. For sure, Arthur was based on Celtic characters and heroes. But even within Gawain and the Green Knight is ostensibly Christian and is heavily laden with Christian symbolism. Even 5, there are sacred numbers within mythology, and 5 is one, and that's because we have 5 fingers on one hand. But the poem discusses the 5 wounds of Christ and other aspects of 5 as well. But the Green Knight is very often compared to the Green Man, and the Green Man is a modern term, but we see the figure of the Green Man in iconography all throughout Britain and in other parts of the world too. Not going to go into that, getting off topic. And the Green Man is a symbol of fertility. The Green Knight is green, and that alone connects him with the fertility aspects of the Green Man. But after Gawain finds the Green Knight, and he is telling him about Morgaine or Morgan Le Fay, and he even calls Morgan a goddess. And I find it very interesting that he blames the downfall of humanity and also Morgan as the instigator of the incident at Camelot. Women are to blame. In Beowulf, we don't really see that. Well, we see Grendel's mother, and Grendel's mother is worse than Grendel, and she is called the bride of Satan, again going back to that Christian aspect. But women were getting the blame for the downfall, and in Beowulf as well, being even worse than the monster that Beowulf has come to slay, and whom he does slay. So I'm not going to say a whole lot more about these aspects right now, but I do about the ancient aspects. But I do want to make a remark about the travesty of the movie Beowulf, in which Angelina Jolie is Grendel's mother. I cannot express to you how bad that is. Grendel's mother had no beauty about her. Her outward appearance, as did Grendel's outward appearance, reflected the inner. And she was, as a female, was very vindictive and out to avenge the death of her son. And that movie was just horrific. And of course, they have the dragon there in conjunction with the with killing Grendel and so on and so on. Beowulf, one more thing I want to say. Beowulf has no problem in bragging about his conquest. He is on the line. I won't say that he is hubristic, and whether or not his childish state is a signal of or a result of his hubris, I'm not going to go that far. But his culture saw no problem in bragging about the prowess, and Beowulf does. On the other hand, in Gawain, the knights were expected to be very modest about their accomplishments. And so this is one difference between the Anglo-Saxon culture and the later English culture, the British culture, I'm going to say, because English, Angles, was that the modesty comes in, and the modesty is also connected to Christianity, and where Christians are supposed to be humble and modest, and Gawain is much more so than Beowulf. All right, I'm going to stop there, and I hope that this gives you a little bit of background on the novel, on the poem Beowulf, its history, and some of the connections to the Anglo-Saxon culture. And it's all about us being associated and being faithful to the king, both Beowulf and then later Beowulf's subjects being faithful to him. And we do see that in Gawain and the Green Knight as well. But I'm going to stop there because I'm relapsing into rambling.